I want to talk wrestling here instead of canaries. Sure, we can talk whatever you want to talk about, but don't talk to me about it.
Ready to rumble. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wrestling News Pro podcast. The podcast WWE. Here are your hosts, Michael Haveen. Bit British. Just the A for this voiceover. Get ready.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Heel Turn Radio. As always, I'm Dan Siegel alongside Anthony Servino and Michael Hoff, and we have a lot of things to discuss. We've got the fallouts from Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania. We have the results from our WrestleMania predictions. We've got the updated Saudi Arabia Great Rumble card. Superstar shakeups coming this week. We'll discuss that along with the Andre the Giant documentary that was on HBO. But let's start with Raw after Mania. It's always discussed as the biggest Raw of the year. Some would debate maybe Raw 25, since that was this year was the biggest Raw, even though that kind of sucked. There were a lot of expectations for the Raw after Mania, and although we had some returns and some call-ups, I don't know about you guys, but it didn't really live up to the hype this year.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't think it did. I even think, the Bobby Lashley return, which, we all knew was coming, I even think that was kind of a weird spot to put it in. I'm one of the biggest Elias fans you'll find, but yeah, I don't know. The show just seemed like they just tried to throw as much at you as humanly possible in 3 hours, but at the end of the day, it wasn't all that exciting to me. So, yeah, I'd say pretty disappointing.
Once again, the WWE, they lacked balance. And going off of what you guys just said, it was way too many returns, way too many debuts, way too many call-ups, and they left a few storylines dragging. We did not see Brock Lesnar. We did not see Cena. We did not see The Undertaker. I don't know. Is this a move that they made because of the superstar shakeup? Because they don't want to continue a storyline when it's going to be blown up anyway? Or is this typical WWE creative dropping the ball?
Well, we all know Dan's answer.
I was going to say, do I really need to answer? How do you not? And listen, we're going to get to this, but I know Cena and Triple H was announced a while ago for this Greatest Rumble, so him and Undertaker not having the next match there, isn't surprising. But how, after Cena gets squashed in 2.5 minutes on WrestleMania, you don't even have any sort of follow-up or any sort of response from Cena the following night is baffling. It's baffling.
Yeah.
John Cena, Mr. Let Me Talk About Everything and Anything, is nowhere to be found.
Yep. No, it is. It is fascinating. And and again, like you said, Dan, we're going to get into this, but I got to imagine that at some point at this Greatest Royal Rumble, they're going to cross paths at some point, whether they just exchange unpleasantries or whether there's actual some physical stuff going on. You have to imagine that they're going to cross paths at some point. This is not the end of their feud, but yeah, it's very strange at best that they don't even have either of them on Raw.
I would say you would hope you'd hope creative would have at least a little bit of common sense and have them cross paths. Wow. But all right, so let's start with the returns that we had on Raw, and I'll tell you my problem with the returns. So we had Jeff Hardy returned. He was in the main event 6-man tag match with Seth, and then we had Samoa Joe return as well, and then we also had the return / debut of Bobby Lashley. Here's my problem: other than Jeff Hardy, who actually competed in a match, we had Joe come out and give me half of what I wanted, which was he came out, interrupted Reigns, but then that's all he did was he interrupted and he left. And we had Lashley come in, do a 5-minute hold up Elias over my head suplex and leave. This is what Raw After Mania is. It's big returns with big impacts. None of those had big impacts.
Right. No, go ahead, Anthony. What do you got? Yeah.
What?
No.
Wait, go on.
No. Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What do you got? No, I have nothing right now. That's how dumbfounded I am by their moves.
You know, I think I said everything I had to say before, where I don't think they went in the right direction. I think they need to draw out these feuds a little bit more. It leaves so many question marks going into the Superstar shakeup. You know, what are they going to do? I mean, are they really going to debut Lashley in a feud with Elias right now? Does that make any sense? It makes zero sense to me.
No, I don't think it was a feud. I think it was just basically a way to bring him out.
Yeah, but why not bring him out in a more significant way? I feel
because
like
it's creative.
They just did for a pop. They got their pop, and now it's okay. Well, Elias still doesn't have a program. We don't know what they're going to do with Lashley. We have an idea what they're going to do with Lashley, but we don't know. It's just way too many question marks. And my biggest issue, and this is why when you say, like, hey, why doesn't NXT talent, why don't they pan out? No way, Jose.
Yeah,
Mike. Here's my thing with No Way Jose, and I said this to you guys on Monday.
He's Adam Rose. He's Adam Rose.
Yes,
Yeah.
It's the Rosebuds all over again.
Right. Yeah, I heard some people saying that it was. Some people were saying that it was Fandango. It's not Fandango. Fandango, in his return, he was fantastic. That whole thing where he wouldn't wrestle a match until somebody said his name correctly. He was only dancing with the one girl. Fandango's fantastic, but no, this was Adam Rose. This was. And from this point, Anthony's 100% right. This guy will be dead in like 2 weeks. No one's going to give a crap.
He's going to be paired with Tyler Breeze and Fandango. That's where he's going to end up. Another dancing act. Not. Put the dancing act with the rest of the dancing acts, and that's what you got there. You have 3MB 2.0.
Oh, God.
And
anyway.
why are you debuting Authors of Pain on Raw, which... You know I wanted them on SmackDown, but you introduced them on Raw. They debut, but they're not part of this half wannabe tag tournament to face the Bar. What is the point?
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. They should have been in that tournament. That's how I thought they were going to introduce them.
How do you think they handled, and go on, Mike, my question is, how do you think they handled this tag team championship issue with Braun Strowman?
It's stupid.
It seems haphazard. It seems lazy. It seems like let's just throw this against the wall and this will stick.
If anything, it makes the tag titles look, when they're trying to pump up titles, it makes the tag titles look irrelevant because Braun wins them and then he says, don't want it, take it back.
I mean, forget about the fact that he gave them up right away. He won them with a 10-year-old.
Yeah, but my prediction was he was going to go into that match alone. So that's pretty damn close for me, for my prediction.
But no, it is. But I'm saying, even at that point, whether he goes in by himself, whether he goes in with a 10-year-old, you're already kind of kicking down the tag team division there, so to speak, because one man should not be able to beat a tag team. One man and a 10-year-old should not be able to beat a tag team that is calling themselves a team that cannot be beat, a team that's run through. I mean, that's what the Bar was saying all WrestleMania season long, was that we've been through all these tag teams. We've done well. I'm saying they do their tag team a major disservice when they have.
Yes and no. I don't really agree with that because I think it was more to make Braun Strowman look like half man, half monster, half amazing. That's what that was. But when he gives them up like they meant nothing, that's when it demotes it. Because you could believe that Braun Strowman can beat just about anybody with a 10-year-old.
Well, here's my problem with this. And I was going to bring this up when we talk about the Andre doc, too. But, all right, let's be honest. John Bravo had WWE by the balls for almost 3 weeks before WrestleMania. They were holding Braun in case Roman couldn't go, and then basically they needed to toss Braun into something. So they put him in this as like a way where A, we can make him look strong, but B, it's nothing long term and we can get rid of it quickly. The problem is while you're trying to build up Braun, in the meantime, I've seen him lose in every big match already. He loses to Roman. He loses to Brock. Like, that's not the way to do this. So what? Like he could beat a tag team, but he can't beat Roman? Come on. It doesn't work.
Yeah. It's just, it seems, I don't know. It seems like the Raw after Mania was just kind of just thrown together. The whole thing was kind of last minute. I mean, even going back to the whole Lashley thing, like where I think Anthony was saying, like, what? Oh, they're going to have him feud with Elias. And then Dan, you were saying, which I think is true, is that, like, no, I think it was just a matter of just a way to introduce Lashley. Let's just have him go out and just give Elias a suplex. Why can't Brock be on? That's what everybody wanted. And I can't stand this. And this is the crap that pisses me off, is that Brock can't even be at the Raw after Mania. Like, you're there.
But how much of it is,
you don't even need to do hotel room.
At that time, was it known that he signed his extension?
Yeah, it was announced before we were talking. Yeah, we were talking about it.
We were talking. Yeah. We were talking that morning about what happened backstage with him and Vince and Shane and the throwing of the belt and all that.
Yeah, and apparently now Dave Meltzer is saying that he was offered the contract after the Go Home Raw, and he didn't sign it until WrestleMania Sunday. But I don't understand how it's not like, all right, listen, Brock, I'll give you this money. You sign this contract. Can you just show up tomorrow night? It's in the same goddamn city where you are. You don't even have to leave and go anywhere.
No, blame that on Vince.
I know. I am blaming it on Vince. I'm 100% blaming that on Vince. That is Vince's fault because he enables Brock's behavior.
I was like, with Brock signing that deal, he gave into everything. He gave into Brock retaining. He gave into Brock fighting at UFC, which is 100% guaranteed. Brock got everything he wanted, and Vince caved in.
But Brock Lesnar's a unique talent, and I believe he can get away with it. And like I've said so many times before, I don't want to see the belt defended every week. That's not a world champion. In boxing, you don't see that. You want to bring the TV title back? You want to resurrect the TV title? You want something defended every week? TV title.
This is why he doesn't like Bret Hart, because Bret Hart was the fighting his champion. He would fight with that belt every week.
Stop with Bret Hart and Kurt Angle.
Just putting it out there.
Say, Kurt Angle is a real American hero. Okay, and the fact that you dislike him.
Bret Hart, if you listen to the Bruce Pritchard show, he was the champion. He carried them through a time where they almost went under. They almost went under. They tried putting Lex Luger and Yokozuna.
Hey, podcast rule number 1: we don't plug other podcasts here. Calm down.
We want Bruce Pritchard on our show. I'm trying to get Bruce Pritchard on the show.
He can come on the show, but we don't need to do him any more favors. I'm pretty sure he's got a lot. I'm pretty sure he doesn't need our help.
Sure.
All right. So moving on from Raw, let's go to SmackDown, where we got nothing. Nothing.
We didn't get nothing. We got a Carmella cash-in, baby.
Well, but that's my thing. We got one debut in the Iconic Duo, and basically they were there to set up what we if you watched our WrestleMania recap, what we said would happen, which was the Carmella cash-in. But, I mean, going off of Raw where you get returns and debuts, I mean, like, that was it. That was the show.
Yeah. This is making me wonder. The only thing this is making me wonder is I wonder if this is what I was thinking when I'm watching Raw, and especially when I was watching SmackDown. I wonder if they're going to try and put more of their stock in their superstar shakeups being a big show. That's what I was wondering. Are they loading the guns for that? Because everybody's wondering about Big Cass. Maybe Big Cass comes out in the superstar shakeup. I mean, I know Anthony doesn't care, but
No, that's my problem. If you're going, if that's the issue, and that's why you held so much back, then why didn't you just do it Monday and Tuesday?
Right.
Why did you wait a week? Because
I
that
agree.
dilutes the shows.
I agree. That would have been brilliant.
Either do it the night after Mania, or push it back where you could have all these people come work for a few weeks and then do it. I was like, because you completely devalued last week.
Oh yeah, I know, and I completely agree. I mean, imagine if you say to everybody, "All right, tomorrow night on Raw, not only do we have the WrestleMania, you know, the fallout from WrestleMania, we're gonna shake up the rosters too." It's, you know, as if it's not musty already.
Yeah,
it's,
but what they're trying to do, they're trying to get the ratings. WWE is all about ratings, so why give you the Superstar Shakeup on the same day as the Raw after WrestleMania, which is going to draw ratings anyway? But it doesn't make sense. But like I said, like anything else with creative, they don't care what we think because we're going to watch anyway, and so is everybody else because they're the best product out there right now, arguably.
Yeah, both of you have the right idea, Anthony. You have the right ideas. Why put both eggs in the same basket when you'll get ratings anyway? And Dan, you're also right, because they should push it back then.
Well,
maybe they should make that like a they should make it like a post SummerSlam or maybe post Money in the Bank to set up for SummerSlam. You know,
the Superstar Shakeup would fit best during a lull time, and
during
now is obviously not a lull time.
No.
Now, I don't know if this is on the show script or not, but you're talking about the Superstar Shakeup. We're talking about Raw and SmackDown rosters. There are two people who are quote-unquote unemployed right now. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. What's going on with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens? Because they're supposed to be...
They're going to show up one way or another.
Right,
I mean,
but that devalues their storyline because right now they're fine. You're telling me they're not going to be drafted or part of a shakeup? Come on.
I think they can honestly go back to either show, because now I could see something where Paige wants to bring them back because Paige says, you know, these guys are talented. I want to bring them back. But I'm
glad you brought that up.
Sure.
I know you guys seem to be all for the whole Paige's GM thing. Like, I'm in the minority here that I wasn't thrilled with this.
Why were you not thrilled with it? I guess is the better question I'll ask you.
Because it's like, you know, we're supposed to be invested in Monday where she's in the ring and she does the emotional retirement speech and blah, 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 blah. And then the next night she shows up as GM.
Well, she's retired from in-ring competition. That doesn't mean she can't be GM.
Do you think she'll be back in the ring like
WWE. Now.
Her injury is that significantly different where you think she's just done?
From what I heard, yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, she's in the same boat as Edge.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. That's terrible.
It's sad.
At least
and I
saw
her that night. I saw her that night when she got hurt. That's
you got to give it to Vince or Triple H or whoever you want to credit this to. But who is the NXT superstar who's now the Raw commentator? Because he suffered a career...
Corey Graves?
Yes, and Triple H gave him a job. And Paige gets her... They give her a job. I mean, you got to at least give the WWE a little bit of credit.
Hold on. Calm down. They didn't give Paige a job. Paige is still under contract. They got to run out that contract somehow.
They can blow her out? Can't they blow her out?
Well, listen, as long as we're having some awkward sounds, I'll just quickly interject. Quick sidebar before we get back into the wrestling, the whatever, superstar shakeups and God knows what else. Our pay-per-view writer records, quickly bring those up because we're going to bring those up. Dan wants us to bring it up, of course, because Dan had the best record of the weekend. So, but we're going to...
I was saying, if we're going to call it that,
yeah.
I was saying, none of us did very good.
No, none of us did very good at all, but we're going to be doing this for each and every pay-per-view, probably up until, we haven't decided yet, either till the end of the calendar year or till WrestleMania is when we will call it, and whoever has the best record, whoever has the worst record, we'll deal with them as well. We will also be doing predictions for the greatest Royal Rumble, so stick around for WrestlingNewsPro.com because we'll have predictions for that as well. Yeah, I'm pumped. But WrestleMania 34, it was Dan came in first place with a 5-6 record. Anthony and myself came in second, tied with 4-7. And ATL Mikey, who not only cannot get equipment for the show, he can't predict matches very well either. He finishes with a 2-9 record.
That's why he's not on this show, because he goes 2-9.
That's why. That's why you gotta at least get the 4 wins before we even talk about Avenue.
I was gonna say, if you can't even be remotely close to the rest of, if you can't even get remotely close to the rest of us, you don't deserve to get on camera. Okay, so save your non-equipment self and just get away from me. Okay, it's really simple. When you read the prediction article, just skip over Mikey. Save yourself the time. Skip over Mikey.
Have a face-off and not an FF face-off.
Right.
We need to have a face-off between Dan and ATL Mikey.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see that. It'd be like a bad pro. It'd be like Mikey would be a Roman Reigns promo in that equation.
I'm gonna correct you and say me and Anthony would both like to see that, actually, as a matter of fact. So anyway, sorry, but there you go.
Well,
there's our pay-per-view writer record. So I'm gonna be posting that with each pay-per-view. I'm gonna post what the record was for the last pay-per-view, what the overall record is, and hopefully one of us can have a good pay-per-view coming up with the greatest Royal Rumble. But there you go, Dan. What do you got for us next?
Well, we were already talking about the Superstar shakeup, so let's dive into that a little bit. Here's the one question I have. Okay, when we're thinking about potential people that could move this great Royal Rumble, there's a lot of things already set up in that with title matches. Do we take those people and basically push them off? Like, if you're set up in a title match, you can't move, right?
No, I wouldn't say that necessarily, because I mean, if you look at Jericho and Owens last year, I mean, what was that? They still had a U.S. title match, I think, even though Owens was on SmackDown at that point. I think the title was on, whatever the case is. I think their feud and something else happened where the pay-per-view after that, the Backlash or what have you, it crossed up as far as guys that are on Raw and guys that are on SmackDown at that point. I gotta look that up. I'm sorry, but yeah. So right. I don't think it necessarily means that those guys are set in stone. No, but I just think that it may take away from the match now.
Well, here's the only thing that I'm almost 100% sure of is that Charlotte and Asuka are switching places.
Yeah.
By taking the belt off of Charlotte, she can go to Raw now, and that will start the slow burn of that storyline. And Asuka can go to SmackDown now because that will kind of elevate her to that spot. She was never going to get to the top spot on Raw, especially with Charlotte coming over. So at SmackDown, I mean, who's really going to,
challenge her? Well, I don't know. Natalia's a fantastic heel.
Well, here's the thing about the Carmella cash-in. Like,
I can't even keep a straight face.
How long can we really expect Carmella to keep the belt?
I
mean, we've seen Carmella fight people. Like, no matter who she gets in the ring with, I can't expect her to win.
Yeah, that yelling, that yelling ages me pretty quick.
She's from your neck of the woods, no? She's built from your neck of the woods, Mike. No, Long Island.
No, Staten Island.
Staten Island, no.
Yeah, no.
Staten Island. Big difference. Big difference.
Yeah, no. We don't deal with Staten Island here over on Long Island. No, none of that. Not up in here. But no, I don't think you expect her to keep the belt for long. I just think this was, again, like you said, Dan, I think it serves as an opportunity to get Charlotte over, to get her over to Raw. When else was Carmella going to cash in, especially if you're going to bring in Asuka? So I just think it was, let's just do that. Let's get this over with. Now it's out of the way. And she'll probably drop the belt in like a month, honestly.
One of the other things that I had originally thought, and Mike, I know you were on the same wavelength with this, was we expected the bar to go from Raw to SmackDown.
Yeah.
But now that they're tied into this storyline with waiting on the winner of this, whatever you want to call it, tournament, for the Raw champion, like, does that not wipe that away?
That's where I think it messes it up. Yeah. Yeah, I mean
So-
the other team. I wrote a prediction article about a month ago with the Superstar Shakeup, and I had the Bar going to SmackDown, but I also had the Usos going to Raw. So I don't know. One of those tag teams is going to move. One of those big teams is going to move. New Day, Usos, Sheamus, Cesaro. One of them's moving.
Usos could move with you know. But then again, they're tied into a SmackDown title thing.
Can't you just move the New Day? I feel like you can get another 6 months to a year out of their gimmick without having to split them up, moving them over to Raw.
I'll be right back. That's what I feel about New Day. I'll be right back.
If you want to move New Day to Raw, that's fine, as long as you're going to move AOP to SmackDown like I originally asked for. Because here's the thing, Anthony, and you're a big Bludgeon Brother guy.
Absolutely, I am.
After what we saw at WrestleMania, okay, what, I'm really supposed to expect the Usos to give them a fight?
I think they have to continue letting the Bludgeon Brothers roll through people at this point.
That's why I'm all for the swap.
Yeah,
Send New Day to Raw. Send AOP to SmackDown.
I think you should send AOP to SmackDown for sure. Yeah, and I guess you guys were talking about eventually doing the Bludgeon Brothers and AOP. Is that what you were talking about?
Well, no, I was saying that.
I was saying slide the New Day over to Raw.
What we saw.
Okay.
After what we saw at WrestleMania, how am I supposed to expect the Usos to give the Bludgeon Brothers a real fight in this rematch? Like AOP is the prototypical tag team in a matchup for Bludgeon Brothers, and they have to move them. Like, them on Raw makes no sense.
No, yeah, and I think you should move Authors of Pain to SmackDown, but I also think I agree with Anthony where I think you should kind of let the Bludgeon Brothers go on a bit of a run here, even if you want to do. And yes, I know you normally wouldn't do it with a team that looks as imposing as the Authors of Pain, but maybe if you do some sort of thing where they're kind of chasing the belts for a little bit, they can't quite get that #1 contender match just yet, but they're running through teams themselves, So maybe you build that up to like a SummerSlam where the Bludgeon Brothers are running through everybody until SummerSlam comes along, and then all of a sudden Authors of Pain get the #1 contender match, and then it's holy smokes, we got these two powerhouses that are going to collide. I do think you should give the Bludgeon Brothers a little bit of a run here with the belts. I think, because I also just think those two guys, from an out of ring standpoint, from behind the scenes standpoint, those guys have been. They've been put through the ringer with all these different gimmicks and with the Wyatts and not with the Wyatts and apart and together and fighting every single week for about 10 years. So I think they deserve to have a bit of a run. So, but there's definitely something to that match.
Who else do we expect to be moved?
I'm wondering in the last couple of days, I've been starting to wonder about Baron Corbin, and I know, Dan, I don't think you're a big fan of Corbin from what I understand in our talks. I am. I love Corbin. I think he's an athlete. I'm wondering if they're going to move. I think big names are going to move, but there's going to be some kind of mid-card names in there that are going to shift, and it's going to be for the betterment. And I think Corbin's one of those guys.
The spoiler alert that we saw yesterday doesn't dismiss that idea, though.
Right. Yeah, it does. But things change, just like the casket match, which we'll get to. But
yes,
I actually want to ask one question here, and I'll ask it to both of you. Because in my prediction piece, I had written that I thought that Rollins, because at the time I thought Rollins wouldn't win at WrestleMania, and I thought Rollins would go to SmackDown, and I thought Styles would go to Raw. Obviously, that's not happening now. But do you think there's an opportunity where they could maybe switch the Intercontinental title and the U.S. title in the shakeup? Maybe Jinder goes to Raw with the U.S. title, Rollins goes to SmackDown, or you think that's? I'm against that thought, but I had that thought, so I wanted to ask it.
I don't think Rollins moves. I think you're going to see Dean come back and move to Raw.
Yeah, I like that. So you can see Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins running a program together.
Well, here's the thing. Again, this was something that we talked about. Was I thought Dean would come back to do that, to run a program with Rollins. Try and go for the IC belt, whatever. Again, creative doesn't like any good ideas, and now, mind you, we're 300 plus days away from this, so a lot can change between now and then. But the early discussion for next year's WrestleMania is to have a reunited Shield match. So if that is the case, there's no Ambrose Rollins feud.
I don't like that. I would much rather have the Ambrose and Rollins feud than have a Shield.
I'd much rather just bury the Shield once and for all. Let it go. It was good when it happened.
That they're better off together.
What's that?
Are they better off together?
With the Shield?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're talking about all three of them now.
For Dean Ambrose's sake, I think he needs the Shield.
No.
I do not believe
Dean
fine. Ambrose is a singles competitor.
I politely disagree. I'll say that they don't need each other. The main reason, because all three of them now, they're all Grand Slam champions, by the way, which is crazy to think at their ages that they're all Grand Slam champions. The other thing is, I think I've said this before on the show, Ambrose doesn't need the Shield. What Ambrose needs is a heel turn. If Ambrose turns heel, he will be one of the best heels in the company, hands down. He will be the best heel. And listen, I know this is a dirty name to bring up in WWE talk. He will be the best heel since CM Punk. Dean Ambrose will be that good of a heel that I think he could carry a show as a heel. That's what I think is Dean Ambrose's problem. No more potted plants. No more potted plants. No more joking around. No more weird twitches and making people laugh. He needs to just go out there and shove it up Seth Rollins, you know what, and off we go.
But will Dean break down the fourth wall? That's the real question.
Haha.
But yeah, so that's, again, we're 300 plus days away, but that is early discussions, a Shield reunion, which would squash that idea.
But Dan, but back to your question that you asked, that you were basically asking us, is there anybody you see that could be moving in this superstar shakeup?
See, I'm trying to think of, like you, I'm trying to think of big names that could move. And I know you wouldn't be fond of this, but does your boy The Miz go to SmackDown?
I'm fine with that. Whatever gets him closer to Daniel Bryan, I'm all for it. But I also think I've said in my prediction piece that I thought Daniel Bryan was going to Raw. I want them both on the same show. So however it works.
Well, that's why I was looking at Miz because I think as logical as it is that you take Daniel Bryan to go to Raw, he's the bigger name, and Raw is the big show. I think Daniel Bryan does SmackDown more good than he would Raw. So leave him there, bring Miz over.
Does anybody here think Roman gets moved over to SmackDown?
No.
Okay.
He can't.
No.
I mean, he could now that Lashley's over there to run programs with Brock Lesnar.
Oh, God. I just, listen, and what?
The move can be made. There's enough big names to throw into the main event card. You move Roman Reigns to SmackDown and you bump the Miz up to the main, to the top.
Here's the slight problem with that. And again, I could be thinking too much into that. But if Roman goes to SmackDown, then when we get to the Great Rumble, do you give any inkling of a chance that he might have against Brock is probably wiped away? Because what, are they really going to put that title on SmackDown, especially if Styles isn't moving?
I don't think they're going to move. I don't think that they're going to move him, Roman. But if I could just go on one rant really quick about Roman, since Anthony brought him up. What are you doing with this guy? He comes out on Raw and he gives excuses like a heel would almost. He gives these excuses. He wants you to feel sorry for him, but no one's going to feel sorry for him because nobody likes him. And then you have Samoa Joe come out. And listen, I was all for seeing Joe, and that's the great spot to put Joe in. And Dan, you said it earlier, the only thing wrong with Joe showing up there was that he didn't get physical. Like, what are you doing with Roman? Is Roman your guy now, or is he not? Because now you're here. I don't get how you book Roman Reigns. I don't get him. I don't understand.
Here's the response to that. And Anthony, another thing. And I'll spoil part of my predictions for the Great Rumble.
Oh, sure.
Roman's not winning. Okay? And here, let me break this down. The fact that they announced Joe and Roman for Backlash, what, Joe's suddenly in the title picture?
What?
Just like that?
And perhaps I missed this off air or whatnot. What is the token? What's the prize for a Great Rumble winner?
We don't know. We're not 100% sure on that. You know, is it a title match? Is it just a ring? Like, I don't think we have clarification.
Chance that there is another superstar not named Jinder Mahal that's not currently on the roster? Perhaps they are training somebody in the Middle East right now to, like I said, maybe they win the Great Rumble, and this is all a promotion to make WWE a monster overseas. Because that's why Jinder Mahal retained the title. He wants to enter.
We're gonna get to the Great Rumble in a second, but let me finish the Roman thought. Vince is caught. Vince is caught here because he pulled the plug last second and switched the result for Sunday night. And he did that because he knew the fan one, it was in the Brock contract. That's the most important. But two, he knew the fan reaction was going to be bad. He knew it. He didn't realize how bad it was going to be, and that they basically were going to just sabotage that match from start to finish. Okay? Now there's and since we already dropped his name, Metzler has put out there that there is thinking that maybe, a potential change at the Great Rumble could be a better reaction. It's not happening. And I get that they've put all this money into this and they're trying to make this huge event. Roman is not winning the belt off in Saudi Arabia, especially to then a week later fight against Joe for the title. I just do not see that at all.
I'll just say this. I haven't made my decision yet.
And I think Vince is caught in a bad place here because he wants to push Roman, but that fan pushback is so hard. The same way the fan feedback pushed Daniel Bryan to that level, I think it's pushing Roman back.
Yeah, I don't get the booking of Roman Reigns at all. But I'm not gonna lie. I thought myself before reading any kind of reports is that putting the title on Roman there at the Greatest Royal Rumble, it's a cheesy way out, but it's your way out of getting him booed out of the building. He probably won't get booed out of the building there, and that's your way. And then he comes back to Raw and he gets booed, but who the hell cares? He gets booed on Raw every week. So that is the way to do it, though. If you're gonna put the belt on him, that's the way to do it, and not at WrestleMania.
But that's my point, though. If the match with Joe was never announced, like if we didn't have anything for Backlash announced,
I got you.
Okay, if it was just, I'd actually be on the fence like you and going, maybe this is how they do it. But I just don't see him winning and then fighting Joe for the belt a week later.
I do.
Well, good. We'll be different in the prediction article.
Well, I'm not 100% committed to it, but I'm just saying I could see it.
All right, we're talking about the Great Rumble enough, so let's just dive into it, and we'll get to this Taker shakeup in a moment. But Anthony, you brought up Jinder, so let me point this out. Jinder wins the belt at WrestleMania, which you guys predicted, and the tie-in was he's going to win the belt because of the Great Rumble. He's not defending the belt at Great Rumble. He's defending it at Backlash. So what was the point?
He's on foreign soil with the U.S. title.
Yes, absolutely. And
what's he doing? What is it going to be in the Battle Royal?
Even if he's in the Rumble. Okay, let's just say, I'm sorry, Anthony, but I'll let you go after this. But going to interject. Let's say he doesn't have a match, right? Which first things first, I think I'd still give him a match. But if they don't give him a match, he could easily be. They could make a spectacle out of his entrance to the point where even if he enters at number 23 in the Greatest Royal Rumble, his boys can come out and do the whole, Jinder Mahal, the whole kit and caboodle, the whole pomp and circumstance. So you still get that big buzz because he's still introduced as the United States champion, Jinder Mahal. There's still a way to do it without him having a match. But go ahead, Anthony.
What I was saying before, what if the WWE has this hidden, Indian superstar? But if not, why not just have Jinder Mahal? What if he wins this Great Rumble as the U.S. champion? I mean, think about the fanfare, because I know they wanted to get him over, and the reports are he's not very over in his own country. No. This is the way to get him over. You win the Great Rumble donning the U.S. championship.
You want to run with that, that's fine. I don't see them Jinder winning that. I get the tie-in and everything, but I mean they put the title on him. I don't see a title winner winning this Rumble.
Is there a chance we're going to see you got to figure we're going to see the Great Khali.
Yeah, I mean with 50 competitors in this Rumble, I'd say that's safe to say.
I was going to say 50 guys. We're going to see. You would think we're going to see a lot of people,
right? Well, you might also see a lot of local guys from that area.
I just
from overseas.
Colonel Mustafa and General Adnan. That's what I want to see.
You're horrible.
WrestleMania 7 style.
He wanted to see them on Raw. Don't get it twisted about the Greatest Royal Rumble. But wait, we can't talk about the Greatest Royal Rumble without talking about the big news that we had. It was such breaking news today. By the way, Dan, I'll tell you this because I know you don't watch our show, the FF Face Off, which you should. By the way, tune in live on YouTube and subscribe.
Best damn
hit the little
podcast on the planet.
Yeah, hit the little alert button. This way, you can be notified every time we go live. But anyway, and then I'll let it go to you, Dan. But when I saw the Jericho news, I actually stopped and said, "Hold on a second. There's some big breaking wrestling news in case you guys want to watch our podcast later." And then I sent it over to Anthony, and then Anthony got all hot and bothered too during the show. So
of course.
This was news that shook the fantasy football landscape for a moment. But go ahead, Dan. What do you got?
Yeah, since we're doing shameless plugs, I mean, I'm sure that this could enter Sports Talk Uncut as well. Just saying, but
which we need to get rolling again. We need to get rolling with my NBA playoffs coming.
That's tomorrow.
T-Wolves and Sixers.
Anyway, so here's how WWE is portraying this, and we'll dive into this. The original match announcement, which came a couple of days ago, was Undertaker, which we knew would be at the Great Rumble. I assumed he would be in the Rumble itself. But Undertaker was going to fight Rusev in a casket match. And Mike on Wrestling News Pro, shameless plug, wrote a whole article how, hey, don't complain. Don't complain about the match. Now today, literally an hour or so ago, we get the announcement. The match has been changed, and it is not going to be Rusev. Instead, it's going to be Jericho. And the spin on it is that Lana went to WWE officials and asked that Rusev hold the match. I'm going with the idea this is going to work. Yes. I don't see how Lana would anything we get Rusev hold from this match. But regardless, okay. As somebody who was giving serious consideration to picking Rusev for the Great Rumble, I have anything now.
Yeah, the whole thing about that, and the whole basis. Which, by the way, I'm really glad that I decided to grind the whole day yesterday writing an article about that. But yeah, that's life when you're in the blogging world. But I was saying don't complain about that because, one, don't worry about the story continuity between Undertaker and John Cena, which we'll get to in a little bit, because you know that that's not going to end where it ended at WrestleMania. So this Greatest Royal Rumble doesn't mean that that's the end of that. And the other argument to that was, let's just say that they announced, okay, well, the rematch. Now we're taking John Cena and Triple H off the table, and now we're going to give you Cena and Undertaker. Everybody here in the States would have said, oh, well, that's a match you need for SummerSlam. That's a match you need for WrestleMania. What are you doing? But to me, the biggest thing at its core was that, fans love, even though he's portrayed as a heel, Rusev's over. His merch is doing well. I know there was that speculation about how he wanted out for a little bit, so perhaps that's why they put him in the U.S. title match. But then why would they take him out of this casket match? And if that is because of Lana, if that is some sort of work, what's the work there? Does he break up from Lana? Like, he's not around Lana on TV enough to even make that a noteworthy story.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'll say, and then I'll pitch it over to whoever, and then whoever wants to take it from here. The whole thing I was saying in my article, in my blog entry, was that everybody was going to complain because there was no continuity in story between WrestleMania and between the greatest Royal Rumble, between Undertaker having a casket match with Rusev. You guys can all eat your goddamn words, because I can tell you right now, nobody is complaining about Chris Jericho going up against the Undertaker in a casket match, and there is no continuity whatsoever in any kind of story because Jericho has not been on TV in months. And Anthony, I'll leave it to you. What do you got?
You know me, I have no complaints on how they use The Undertaker. I just want to see as much of The Undertaker as possible just because he's at the end of his career, obviously. I want to see a program, however. I know I say I just want to see Undertaker in a match, but let's see The Undertaker now. If he's going to be in a casket match against Chris Jericho, let's see him pick up a program with Chris Jericho or pick up a program with Rusev now that they're at least mixed in a little bit. Pick up his program with John Cena. I need to see more Undertaker for me to be really satisfied with this storyline. There's not enough here. I do want to see a little bit more because they did at least build up Cena Taker. It was a terrible build-up, but they at least did something.
Before we expand on Taker, what about this idea with Rusev? And, you would assume they would think about this. But again, I put in anything creative does. Do you think they announced this match and then we're like, listen, it's Taker, it's a casket match. Nobody is going to buy Taker losing this match. And like Mike said, Rusev Day is every day. It is over as over can be. Does anybody want to see Rusev get squashed by Taker in a casket match?
No.
So maybe they rethought this. Maybe they rethought this.
Yeah, but I think sometimes if it's a guy getting squashed in a match, it's also the guy he's getting squashed against. And that's a big step to be in the ring against The Undertaker. And that's what I kind of said in my article is like, when you look at all these younger wrestlers, if you listen to any kind of podcast or any kind of interviews with these younger wrestlers, and you ask them, if you have a dream match, who are you in the ring with? And they either say, or Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. So this was a big match, regardless of whether he got squashed or not. This was a big spot for Rusev to be in. Anybody else in that locker room would love to get squashed in a match against The Undertaker. But I don't know.
And saying this could be a work. Is there any way we could see a run-in where Rusev comes in and helps Jericho out?
I doubt it.
I mean, it's possible. I don't see it.
Of course it's possible.
Because the only way you're going to beat The Undertaker in a casket match is if you have multiple people involved, a few run-ins.
The only
is
reason
anybody
why
expecting Undertaker to lose this match?
All right. I mean,
it could happen if they want to run a program with him. And I know you hate when I bring. Here's one of my off the wall. Here's one of my off the wall.
Here we go.
My left field.
Sit back.
Here's an Aaron Judge bomb. Rusev has now talked smack to The Undertaker, much like John Cena. John Cena and Rusev has a history together. Why not pair those two against the Brothers of Destruction?
Oh, here we go. They had to find a way to bring Brothers of Destruction back in.
Because I think it's
going to
happen. And when it happens, you heard it here first. When it happens.
Here, Anthony, you want something?
Happen. It's going.
You want something?
See it.
you want something off the wall and something that we're about to get to anyway, so I'll toss this out there. It would make more sense and go for something that Anthony has talked about for weeks and weeks and weeks, and this would push him that much closer to doing it. Have Cena run in.
Right.
Have Cena run in on the match. It pushes him that much closer to this great heel turn that you keep talking about, which is never going to happen. And at least it starts tying in the continuation of the story that we didn't get any continuation of.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say, was that to answer Anthony's point before he got on the Brothers of Destruction thing about Rusev coming down and helping Jericho. I think that would work only if Jericho was going to be around on television. We have no guarantee Jericho's going to be around on television. We're all assuming that he's just doing this because it's a big thing. It's a 50-man Royal Rumble. They picked up the phone and called Jericho, and Jericho said, "Sure, I'll do it because I'm not touring with Fozzy at that time." So maybe if Jericho is going to be around on TV for a while, then maybe sure. But I think the idea, and I said that in my article as well, that I worked so goddamn hard on that now, is irrelevant. John Cena, it's either going to be I think they're going to have some sort of brush up at this Greatest Royal Rumble, and it's either going to be Cena's going to come down at some point during this Undertaker match, whether it's during the match or whether it's a post celebration where Undertaker's doing his, he's on one knee and he's got the tongue sticking out and Cena comes behind him and gives him an AA, or if it's Undertaker comes out during the match against Triple H. Either way, they're going to have some sort of interaction there, I feel like, but I think that's the more plausible idea as far as anything with any kind of run-ins or anything of that nature. But either way, we're all getting a gift here with this Jericho and Undertaker match.
Oh, absolutely.
I was gonna say, and I'm fairly certain, as far as your whole idea of a program with Jericho, this is like 99.9% a one-off, because I'm pretty sure Jericho is already starting a program back in New Japan. So,
good.
Yeah, he had set when he did the Omega match. He had already put the wheels in motion for his next feud. So I think that's coming up. Don't hold me to it, but that's at least on the horizon.
All right.
As far as the other stuff we know about the Great Rumble so far, I mean, it's a lot of WrestleMania rematches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
which is two things here is that's why I don't think it affects the superstar shakeup a lot, because you're just having some kind of grudge matches that are the kind of the remnants from WrestleMania. I'm sorry, but kind of diminish Backlash a little bit, or do you think they're gonna? Because generally the Backlash card would be presented as what the Greatest Royal Rumble is. It's a lot of rematches. It's a lot of, all right, well, this is the last time we're gonna wrestle. Do you think this takes away from Backlash pay-per-view, or do you think that they construct it differently as to what the superstar shakeup will be?
Well, here's my thing, is that because we have so many WrestleMania rematches, and we're not going to know this until once this Rumble happens and we see how it plays out. But one of two things is going to happen. It's either going to diminish from WrestleMania itself, or the Rumble itself is going to be diminished. Because since we're having the same matches over again, it's that, did we not have a title change at WrestleMania so we could change here? Did a title change at WrestleMania and we're just going to change it right back? I mean, like, there's a lot. I think the biggest intrigue, when you talk about everything that goes in this Rumble, whether it's the Taker match, the idea of a Taker Cena, who wins this Rumble, all these things, the biggest intrigue for me is, what are they doing with all these rematches? Are they just matches to fill a card? Or are they actually going to, shake some things up as opposed to what we saw at WrestleMania? I mean, one way or another, something's going to get diminished somewhere.
Did you see who is booked for the Rumble? It's a spoiler.
I mean, they've leaked names.
Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, Rey Mysterio.
Good, in and out, be gone.
Not
I could care less
about that.
Yeah.
How's it?
Yeah.
He was at the Rumble too. Whoop-de-doo.
All right. Well, why don't we? I guess we've discussed enough about everything else. Dan, why don't we get into the as we wrap up the show? Why don't we get into the Andre the Giant documentary?
All right. I have a conspiracy theory, but I'll save that for the end. So we all watched it, obviously. I mean, I think we're all in agreement that it was sad, to say the least. They certainly gave you the idea of what Andre had to go through, outside the ring on a day in, day out basis, as far as, not being able, to fit in a car, and not being able to ride on a plane and do things that normal people would do. And, after and towards the end, just how bad he was physically, even leading up to the big match with Hogan, just how bad he was physically, and how Vince basically talked him in to doing that match to put WWE on the map like it is today. Here's the question that I had when I was watching it. I was going to ask you guys this, and I didn't. Us being the age that we are, when we think about ultimate heel turns, I know I do at least. The very first one I always go back to is the barbershop. That's the one everybody thinks of. Is Andre Piper's Pit Hogan the original heel turn? Because, as they say in the documentary, nobody had ever seen Andre as a heel up till that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to agree with that, yeah. I think that was the first heel turn that we've seen.
I was going to say, and at least for me, I know when Andre and Hogan happened, I was the ripe age of about 7. So, that wouldn't be as fresh in my mind as the barbershop is. But, I mean, that was as monumental, if not even more monumental, based off of who it was.
Yeah, I think at the time, yeah, sure. Being in the age group that we're all in, yeah, sure, that didn't it didn't register at the time. But when you look back now and you're a big wrestling fan and you go and you take a look back at the course of history, yeah, that was a huge heel turn. And I think there was a bigger heel turn than Michael's. Because again, it was you were talking about you know what it was almost like? It was almost like, again, but I know no one was the heel in the situation, but it's almost like WrestleMania 6 with the Ultimate Challenge, where you had this one guy in the Ultimate Warrior who appeared to be, but don't worry about it. I'm gonna pull it all together. It appeared that there was the Warrior who was supposed to be this unstoppable guy, supposedly, and then there was Hulk Hogan, who was Hulk Hogan. You basically had that with this WrestleMania 3 because legitimately Andre the Giant could not be stopped. He was undefeated. I think they said in the documentary
15
he had
years.
Lost 15 years. And not to mention, getting back to my Warrior thing, they tried to let him carry the ball and he couldn't carry the ball. Andre the Giant was a guy who was carrying the ball in multiple territories. You saw it on that documentary.
Right.
He was carrying the ball. And now he was going up against this guy who was like he was the new sensation. He was like the Beatles coming to America. This guy was Hulk freaking Hogan. So I think that's the biggest heel turn. And yeah, I think that's the original heel turn. Absolutely. 100%. And I think that's the beauty of being able to go back and see all this stuff now is you get a greater appreciation.
The other thing that I was thinking about when I was watching it is, and Mike, you just made mention of it. Andre was undefeated for 15 years before the Hogan match. And, and before people start tweeting at me, calm down. I'm not saying that these two are the exact same in today's wrestling. How Braun isn't built similarly to Andre baffles me, because when we, as they said in the documentary, people just wanted 5 minutes of hanging with Andre because nobody realistically thought that anybody could beat Andre. Right. When I'm watching these Braun matches, I mean, again, we brought it up earlier. Braun just beat a tag team by himself, but then you have him booked against guys like Brock and Roman, where he loses. And listen, Brock is, he's made from a different type of species. He's not human. But Braun is still twice Brock's size.
Get it, Anthony.
Different times, different eras. I mean, back then, you know, Andre the Giant was larger than life, and now, since then, we've had the Giant Gonzalez or El Gigante, whatever you want to call him. You have the Big Show. You have Braun Strowman. So you've seen these bigger and bigger and bigger athletes, and they're bigger, stronger, and faster. So it's not as appealing now, because we've seen it. But, you know, there was only Andre the Giant, and now in the past 10 years, you could probably name 3 or 4 guys with that size and strength. You know, Snitsky was a monster too. You know, Yokozuna was billed at 550 pounds, 600 pounds. And Lex Luger slammed him. So I think it's just a different time, different era.
Yeah.
All right. So
and you could say that about a lot of different sports too. I think to Anthony's point for sure. But yeah, just and also to piggyback off what you were saying, Dan, it's like that if you're a true wrestling fan, you cannot watch that documentary without having your heart go out to that guy. It's virtually impossible. The way they construct the whole thing, which is all true stuff. It's wild to think that's how that man lived.
That was the question I was going to ask you guys, is what was your, I guess, lasting impression after watching it?
My lasting impression, and then I'll hand it over to Anthony. My lasting impression is shortly when they talked about his death is when they asked Vince about it, and they talked to Vince, and you could see the way Vince was handling it. I don't know. To me, that kind of made it for me. It kind of, as if I wasn't aware of the situation already. That kind of, yeah. But that would be the biggest moment for me. Anthony, what about you?
I think of the 3 big wrestling documentaries that came out in the past year. They all told different stories, but it seemed like with Andre the Giant, it showed you just how larger than life he was, and at the same time, he was also a human being. His feelings got hurt because people would point and laugh behind his back. And amongst, you know, and they made light of, you know, they kept bringing up his flatulence, but, you know, he tried to make the best out of his situation when all the guy really wanted was to fit in and be human. So it really it humanized Andre the Giant, and with Vince McMahon at the end, it also humanized Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
So I think we got a little bit of everything from this. We got happy, sad, funny. It really had it all, and it's a must-watch for wrestling fans and for non-wrestling fans.
The only thing I wish we would have gotten out of that whole documentary, I mean, it's hard to complain about that. The only thing I wish we would have got was a little bit of Stephanie McMahon, because she talks all the time about how much she loved Andre and that, you know, she'd sit on his lap and everything else.
She loved Randy Savage too.
Oh, Jesus. God.
There we go.
Had to take it off the rails. Anyway, I just wish we could have got her in that documentary. And maybe, Anthony, you pig, if we get a Macho Man one, we can get Stephanie in there too. Anyway.
Yeah. I was gonna say Mike, like you said, the Vince thing at the end was obviously the biggest, I think, part of that for anybody. Because, I mean, you see, not only do you see, you know, him trying to hold back the emotion, but even what he says about how he has the ability to kind of compartmentalize anything negative and forget it. And, you know, and they talk about how, you know, at the end, you know, how Andre didn't want to be a heel, and how, you know, because he was breaking down, you know, he was used sparingly, and then he was basically used for appearance sake only, and how he sort of resented Vince for it. And, you know, when you think about it logically, Vince was in a tough spot. He's got Andre, who he's got this great relationship with, and he doesn't want to just dismiss him. But at the same time, from a business standpoint, Andre was breaking down and he couldn't do anything anymore.
He also dismissed treatment.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Which I was kind of surprised about.
Yeah. And that you know, that sucks to hear that.
I also remember. remember too that the treatment, when you hear treatment, you think, oh, well, the treatment would have made Andre, it would have reverted it. It wouldn't have reverted it. It just would have stopped it.
Yeah, but
is Andre the Giant the all-time true wrestling lifer? Was he literally died? You can almost say he died for the sport. He died for sports entertainment.
Yeah, that's why he
the
said
reason why he dismissed his treatment was because he was afraid it would affect his in-ring ability.
Right.
So you could almost say Andre the Giant's true wrestling lifer here. And another thing that stuck out was when they went through that part of the documentary where they just see Andre laying into people. Can you imagine being on the other end of that if you pissed Andre the Giant off? Like, Big John Studd was a big dude, and Andre the Giant just kind of bitched him out and made him leave the arena.
Yeah.
I mean, that's can you imagine pissing that guy off?
Great documentary, great insight. Absolutely. What do you got?
Into my conspiracy.
Oh yeah,
there were two things in the documentary that I call BS on, and one way more so than the other. Okay, first off, the whole Andre basically, like, if he didn't like you, he'd beat the crap out of you. Andre never hurt anybody. If Andre literally wanted to be, so I don't, like, Big Man, he didn't like Macho Man, and he'd always give it to Macho Man. Like, if Andre just laid one punch on somebody, they would have been
like those
legit
open
hurt.
Hand slaps though, and the way he throws you. I mean, no, he never hurt anybody, but I'm sure they stung.
Right. I don't think it was so much about trying to hurt a guy as much as it was about just trying to send a message that, hey, I'm giving you a hard time here. There was that story. There's a story about the Warrior too. I think it was at the Garden, and he was fighting Andre, and then Andre was like, "Listen, don't do this one thing on me." And apparently Warrior said, "Okay." And within 2 minutes, of course, because the Warrior is who he is, he does that one thing that the Giant doesn't want. And then the Giant proceeds he throws Warrior against the ropes, and when Warrior comes back, he punches him in the face. So I don't think he necessarily tried to hurt guys. I just think it was a way of him sending a message that, hey, I'm the guy. The buck stops here.
That was one of the things I called BS, but that's the small one. Here's the conspiracy.
Yeah, that's good.
The Hogan match. The match that, everybody knows, and the match that the documentary went into great detail about.
Right.
They talk about how Hogan was very concerned about Andre putting him over, and that the finish was going to be until basically not in the ring. Oh, he wrote on legal pad to Vince, told him not to tell Andre, and that the match basically played out like it did on the legal pad. BS, BS, BS. Okay? Bill Simmons, who was executive producer on this, and Dave Meltzer both said that Hogan contradicted the story so views that they basically pieced together what they could work. So if Hogan and Vince can't be on the same page about what happened, how am I supposed to buy that happened?
All right. So what do you think happened?
What I think. I think Hogan was legit concerned because Hogan looked up to Andre, and I think I'll anybody anything. So that part I believe. Do I believe that the whole thing was written out on legal pad and Andre went around with it? No, I don't. Do I also believe that Hogan went into the ring not knowing what was going to happen? No, I don't.
Yeah, I disagree with that, though. I think, because that's not the first time I ever heard that Hogan didn't know that finish, or Hogan was afraid Andre was going to change his mind. I've heard that multiple times, multiple documentaries, that Hogan legitimately was, hey, Vince, is he really going to do this? Is he really going to put me over?
No, I'm not saying that Hogan wasn't afraid that Andre would change his mind, but I'm saying if Hogan didn't know how that ending was going to go down, then why didn't Vince back him up with it?
Part of a rib.
I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And you can talk about all the bad blood that there is right now between WWE and Hogan all you want, but I'm sorry. Not.
By the way, I don't think there's so much bad blood between WWE and Hogan. I just think that it's a sensitive situation as far as bringing him back in, so it's kind of handling it with kid gloves. I don't think it's bad blood.
Well, Snickers isn't in an uproar about bringing him back.
You know what? I want to ask one last question, and this is outside of the Andre the Giant documentary. I want to get Dan. I want to get your opinion. Anthony, I want to get your opinion. No, this has nothing to do with the fact that I'll be in attendance, but with this superstar shakeup, what is there a match? Because SummerSlam is the next big one. SummerSlam is the next big pay-per-view. Is there a feud stemming from this superstar shakeup that you'd want to see at SummerSlam? And I asked that because, for example, we brought up Daniel Bryan and Miz getting on the same show. Is that a match you want to see at SummerSlam, or is that a match that you want to see at WrestleMania 35? And then one last one is, for example, again, we talked about John Cena, Undertaker. Is that a match you want to see happen at SummerSlam, or is that a match that at that point with those legends, living legends, you want that at WrestleMania? And I'll let you both have at that.
Go ahead, Anthony. You can go.
I think SummerSlam is viewed as like almost like as the WrestleMania of the summer. And, taking the Undertaker Cena first, if you have two, there's got to be a third. So why not have one at SummerSlam and then have the rubber match at WrestleMania? That's how I would handle that situation. But as far as Daniel Bryan and The Miz, I don't know if I need more build-up to deem that WrestleMania worthy.
I
need a little bit more there. I need a little bit more there.
I disagree hard on that one.
Yeah,
so I think a majority of people would disagree hard with you on that one. I think the build-up's plenty there, which is why I wouldn't be opposed to it as SummerSlam, but because there's so much build-up.
Let me word this a little bit better. Let me word this. Hold on. Let me word it a little bit better.
Yeah,
it's not one of those matches that they can just say it's going to happen next year. They need to run a program. They can't just say, okay, we're going to do this.
Well, no, and Anthony, to your point, here's what I was going to say. Why I'm not opposed to them doing it at SummerSlam, because it's already built in and you could do it. What I'd rather have is them kind of run parallel, mix it up throughout the rest of the year, and then lead that to WrestleMania.
Yes.
But as far as a match that I would want to see, and I'll stick with Daniel Bryan since you threw it out there. When we were talking about the superstar shakeup, we didn't talk about the guys that we haven't seen yet, especially from NXT. Johnny Gargano's coming. Drew McIntyre is coming. Almas is coming. Okay? If you don't want to do Miz and Bryan at SummerSlam, and I'm fine with you not doing that, give me Bryan and Gargano. That's the match that people want to see.
Yes, sir.
It's the match that people want to. I would say it's the match that people want to see. Gargano, it would give Gargano his first legit pay-per-view, put him in a high-profile match. Let him sink or swim, so to speak. And also it lets Bryan get. Let us not forget, Bryan is now 2 weeks removed from being in in-ring action. Let him get in a routine here.
Anthony?
But I agree with Anthony as far as Cena Taker is concerned. If
that's actually
do it at SummerSlam. I was like, do 2 at SummerSlam, do 3 at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that was actually because I gotta be honest before I let Anthony go ahead. I was actually against Undertaker and Cena at SummerSlam until actually Anthony mentioned the whole rubber match bit. That works fantastically. But Anthony, what do you got?
I would like to see them make an NXT call-up and correct the name if I'm wrong, because I know you like the Authors of Pain and the Bludgeon Brothers together. I like are they the War Beards? The Beards of War?
But those were, that was War Machine, right? Just came up? Was that who that was, Dan?
Yeah,
but they're
new. They're not coming.
Yeah, they're new though, Anthony. So they're gonna make that.
They're a year away. But that's the
that's
one.
the
I mean, they have
Yeah.
the look I want. To feud with the Bludgeon Brothers. That's what I want. You want to bring the Authors of Pain, the Beard, and Bludgeon Brothers together in a three-way tag team. I love that.
Speaking of NXT call-ups that we haven't seen yet and trying to figure out where they fit. Okay, you want to go ultimate face and ultimate heel, and we're talking about how New Day really doesn't have, anything going for them right now. What about a New Day Sanity program? Doesn't do anything for you?
No.
All right.
Politely.
Throw it out there.
No.
All right.
Nope. I'm gonna say one thing about call-ups since we're talking about call-ups. I know now is not the time to do it, obviously, and that's fantastic. That's fine. But when they call up Adam Cole, and he's gonna light that freaking main roster on fire, when they do call him up, that should be the one time where it's not. Because all right, they call up tag teams. I get it. But that's one time where they should call up the faction together. Like Roderick Strong should remain in there. Bobby Fitt, like the whole group, the whole Undisputed Era. And I know Vince doesn't like factions. It's a dirty word for him. But that is one.
He doesn't like factions, but he keeps going back to the Shield.
He made a living on factions.
Who's barking? That's the one group that should come up from NXT as a faction. That and just whatever. And I know that at this point, my heart wants it after SummerSlam, wants to call up, but I know realistically with the way that story's progressing, that's going to be an after WrestleMania bit, and I get it, and I know that, but just that's my thing. They should bring them up as a faction, especially like a Raw after Mania. Bring them up as a faction to kind of tear the house down. I would love it, but that's my hopes and dreams.
So at the end of the show, we do our rants. We may have gotten a few rants in during the show, but we do our final rant. So who is prepared to rant?
I think I need a minute.
Me too.
Believe it or not.
Oh, God. All right, fine. I will rant. Let me talk about, this is a two-part, both coming from the Hall of Fame. First off, apparently we have Kid Rock to thank for not seeing American Badass Taker at WrestleMania. Kid Rock, who can't keep his mouth shut, apparently dropped some things about the Democrats and ruffled some feathers, and WWE doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. So the whole gimmick that they had with Kid Rock coming out and performing and doing that, they scratched. So that was off the table. The other thing that came out of the Hall of Fame was Mark Henry's plea to whomever to get Owen Hart into the Hall of Fame.
I believe it's the Owen's wife, right?
I think he brought up her, but it was basically a plea to WWE in itself.
Yeah, okay.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing with that. He can beg and plea all he wants, and it can make all the sense in the world for Owen to go into the Hall of Fame. But because of the circumstances, there's no chance in hell. No chance in hell that that's ever going to happen. And Mark Henry, being the smart guy that he is, should realize that. What? You think WWE wants to induct the guy that fell from the roof and died at their place? Come on. China, she did porn, but we're going to induct the guy who died. Next thing you know, we're going to ask for Chris Benoit to get inducted.
What's your issue with Chris Benoit? Okay.
Yes.
I understand what he did, but this is, O.J. Simpson's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Ray Lewis is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
This isn't a real Hall of Fame. This is WWE Hall of Fame. They're not going to induct some guy who killed his family.
You know what? Yeah, I get. See, I was a Chris Benoit fan, big Chris Benoit fan until he did what he did. I'm not.
Listen, and Jericho has even spoke on this because Benoit and Jericho were tight. Jericho says, if you take that away, does he deserve to be in? Absolutely, he deserves to be in. But because of that, will he ever get in? No. No chance.
Let me piggyback my
how do you
off
tell?
yours.
How do you tell? Just real quick, how do you do the Chris Benoit induction without making any mention of that?
Yeah.
You can't.
You know, here's a little rant about the Hall of Fame. Why not Owen Hart? Is that all because of his wife, or is there any animosity with Brett or Vince? Like, what's the holdup from Owen Hart getting in aside from the story about his wife? Because I don't completely buy that.
I think I just went into why he's not getting in.
I'm talking about Owen Hart.
Yeah, I am too. Do you not pay attention?
I thought we were still on Benoit.
No, before Benoit, I said, why? How are they going to induct Owen Hart? Do you really think they want to publicize the guy who fell from the roof and died at their pay-per-view?
Got you.
I think I think you do your best. I get it. Do you want to induct the guy that fell from the rafters? And I get it. But I also think that there was a very large body of work prior to him falling from the rafters. And I honest to God think that based on Owen's career anyway, and based on the career, and this is hypotheticals, but this is based on the career that he potentially could have had he kept wrestling, had he not died tragically, he would be a WWE Hall of Famer. I'm pretty certain of that. I think a lot of people would be in agreement on that. So I think it's almost a disservice to Owen himself to say that, well, we can't put him in there because he fell from the rafters. I think he deserves to be in. I think he needs to be in. I would love it if he was in. That's pretty much it. I mean, I think he deserves to be in. But I get the sensitivity of the subject. Did Brett go in when he did the whole WrestleMania 26 bit? Did he go in that year or no?
No, he did go in. Never mind.
He did, right? But I'm just saying, did he go in that year?
Yeah, I don't know if he went in that year, but he's in. He's in. I double checked it because I wasn't sure if he was in.
Which, by the way, if he wasn't, do him first and then do Owen. But even though Anthony hates him, but anyway, I just think that there's a place for Owen in there, because you also see all these superstars when they talk and they talk about Owen, it gets very sentimental very quick. He had a profound impact on that locker room as well. So I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. I think it should be in there.
I find it hard to imagine, and I keep going back to China because China is the most obvious one and the one that they've been most vocal about.
Right.
They're not putting China in because, as Triple H put it, we don't want young WWE fans to go, who didn't see China wrestle to go Google her and find other things.
Okay, well, how about the SmackDown GM?
Well, yeah, but let Asuka, for that matter, as I brought up.
Rollins. There you go.
But that's all. Asuka stuff is soft. That I didn't see anything to
Oh, so you looked.
It wasn't like Pornhub.
Anthony went and Googled that immediately.
I did. Don't you remember last week's show?
Oh yeah, yeah.
But just going along that idea though, you Google Owen Hart, that's the first thing you're going to see. You Google Chris Benoit, that's the first thing you're going to see. It's all about image.
Yeah. All right, so that's your rant. I'll take the next rant here. It's a continuation of a rant that I've already had. It's not as big of a topic as what Dan had, but again, it is the way in which they are, I guess, evolving this Sasha Banks and Bayley feud. Again, Bayley at the Raw After Mania match, she cost Sasha Banks, which we thought we had something because Bayley at the Battle Royal at Mania, she threw Sasha Banks out. So we thought that was the jump off. Here we go. And then we get to Raw, and then Bayley accidentally causes Sasha to get pinned. She apparently feels terrible. She's putting her hand on her head and walking to the back. And then you see Sasha getting ready to get out of the ring. And the whole time I'm saying, jumper, 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 jumper. Like, let's escalate this feud already. Let's get this jump off. But I'll tell you right now, this Backlash card, I'm more than positive, unless they have, which they're going to, Styles and Nakamura, Bayley and Sasha will be one of the best matches on that card, hands down. Say what you want about Bayley. Bayley is stale with the WWE Universe, but from a quality of match standpoint, the two of them in the ring, if you've seen them on NXT before, will be absolute magic. And I don't understand what the hell is so hard about escalating this feud to finally just get them in the ring together. I don't get it. And at this point, with the way Creative is putting this feud together, I'm absolutely okay with, just split them up, put them on separate brands. Try it again later down the road.
Mike, you bring up this, and it's something that I said I wanted to talk about, and I completely forgot about. So, Anthony, do you have a rant, or was your own thing? You're having
more of a piggyback on yours, really.
Okay, well, here, let me since Anthony doesn't have one, I'll take his spot and do a second one. All we've heard about from Stephanie McMahon and WWE is the women's revolution, and how we're setting a great example for younger women, and yada 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 yada. And yet, what they failed to publicize is that on this great Rumble card that they have here in 2 weeks, there will not be a single women's match on it. Why do you ask? Because in Saudi Arabia, the laws don't allow a women's match. Now, if we're building this women's revolution and we're doing all these things, to show that women equality and put women on this higher, yada 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 yada, why would WWE put on a major card like this in a place where the women can't be a part of it? Because Saudi Arabia has paid them money on top of money on top of money to put on an event like this. So WWE, while they say, let's push this women's revolution and make all these role models and set all these great examples, will push the women to the side as easily as they have for the last few decades to make some money.
Interesting point.
Wow. Oh, by the way, just before we close, got a message from ATL Mikey here.
Oh, yeah. Is he listening?
Oh, he's listening, and he's not happy with you. He's not happy. He's not happy with Anthony either.
What the hell?
Wait, hold on. Tell me what he said, because I already have a response. Tell me what he said.
The statement is, and I quote, because I mentioned to him that we were giving him some shots on the show, so he tuned in, and he said, and I quote, "And who is dumber, Dan for thinking WWE won't induct Owen because he died, or Servino asking why Benoit isn't in the Hall of Fame?"
ATL Mikey.
Who's dumber?
I'm going to be John Cena here. Okay, and you can be Undertaker since you don't have equipment. I'm issuing a challenge, an open challenge for you to get on a damn payphone, a cell phone, go to Radio Shack and get yourself a freaking half-assed webcam and microphone to get on here. Find a way to get on the opposite end so that you and me can do this.
God damn, I like Dan. Dan, I'm getting you those NXT tickets.
I don't know.
Let's get it done.
Benoit.
Here's the only difference in this. I may be Cena in issuing this open challenge, and Mikey may be Undertaker in the fact that he can't answer, but I won't get squashed in 2.5 minutes.
Anthony, what do you got?
I was just gonna say, it's like being unbiased, like because of what Chris Benoit did in his career in the ring. It's and I understand what you're saying about image and everything, but he deserves to be in a Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. And I know Jerry Lawler has bought one or is creating one. Perhaps we'll see Chris Benoit and Lawler's. Because he's deserving for what he did in the ring, not for what he did outside the ring.
I'll agree with Anthony from that standpoint. It's virtually impossible to exclude what he did out of the ring. But if you're talking about what he did in the ring, yeah.
Not for nothing, if you go back in the histories of any of these WWE Hall of Famers, there's a lot of things that went on back then.
Anthony, I don't think anybody's arguing the fact that, if we're looking at it from a ring standpoint, should Benoit be in? Yes. If Benoit hadn't done what he did and he was still alive today, he'd be in. But like I said, for the same reason that
is Mr. Perfect in Hall of Fame? Yeah. No? Is Eddie Guerrero in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Didn't he have a heart attack because of steroids and coke? Something like that?
That's not a WWE issue.
Just saying, it still comes up if you Google it.
I'm from an image standpoint, steroids and coke is a lot more mainstream than, hey, I slaughtered my family.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Hey, could somebody tell ATL Mikey for me 28-3?
What's that? I just sent him a text. I sent him a text and said that I read his text on air.
Send him another text, 28-3.
He said, "I'll give him 3 minutes." He said, "I don't know what that means." I'm just going to say,
I hope that's not how
we want more. Yeah.
I was going to say, I hope he lasts longer than 3 minutes, at least for companion's sake.
Don't know, don't care, but that's the best time ever to end the show. So there you go.
There you go. All right, so that's it for this week's Heel Turn Radio. As always, check out Wrestling News Pro for all our prediction pieces and articles that Mike writes that become irrelevant the next day. Yeah. I was going to say, we'll do the shameless plugs here. Check out Mike and Anthony on the Fantasy Face-Off. Check them out on YouTube and whatnot. And the revival of Sports Talk Uncut will be tomorrow, so you can check out me and Anthony on that as well. The show is on Blog Talk. You can search it there. If you can also go on gruelingtruth.net and check it out there. As always, I'm Dan Siegel for Michael Hoff and Anthony Servino. This has been Heel Turn Radio. We'll talk to you next week.
Cheers.